And last but not least, man, let's talk about Emancipation.
Yeah.
So I will do the synopsis for this one, right? So let me just get the obvious out of the way. Yes, the Chris Rock slap happened. It happened. I know that there will be a lot of people who will skip this film because of the slap. I don't blame you for skipping it if you just write off Will Smith and you don't care about him at all. And all right, he won an Oscar, so whatever, I don't care anymore. That's your opinion. In my case, though, I just didn't expect that we were going to get this literally. Well, not just after the slap, but right after King Richard, right, which dropped late
Right.
last year, right. I didn't think that we were gonna get this so quickly, right. I honestly thought that but I mean, I understand it's Will, right? It's the man profession, right? It's not like he could go and make rap, right? But he had to make money, right? So yeah, he back doing his thing, right? But I honestly thought that we would have gotten something like this say next year, right? So at least we have more enough time for the slap to die out because yeah, by year's end, when we looking back at 2022, yeah, of course, that'll be one of the big highlights, right? But yeah, I mean, whatever. Like Emancipation here is out, right? It's directed by Antoine Fuqua. A director who I've defended over the years. I mean, as far
Yeah.
as his output with action movies and whatnot. But ever so often, he's kind of dropped the ball. He's kind of dropped the ball at times.
King Arthur.
Oh my God, King Arthur, boy. Whew.
Mhm.
Thank God I did not see that in theaters, but I watched it in Stars on Stars, sorry,
Yeah.
and I forgot about that instantly, like
Mhm.
instantly, right? But yeah. But now, what I was gonna bring up though was a show that I skipped from last year, Infinite, right? Which
Yeah.
star your boy Mark Wahlberg. Like just I heard just instantly this immediately how bad it was. And I was like, nope, I don't want to see that, right? So yeah, we have Antoine's redemption story here, and we have Will Smith's redemption story here with this, right? So what it's about, right? It centers on the real life figure of what we call now whipped Peter, right?
Yeah.
Well, actually, that's the image that that
Yes.
immortalized him, right? Um, and for those who don't know, it's this slave, right? He was he was Haitian born, sorry.
Right.
And in this one instance, a picture was taken of him, right? And the photographer wisely told him to just arch his back, so it's fully exposed, in front of the camera itself, right? And yeah, they took that picture, and it's a really like gruesome, yeah, just the whippings, just those scars on his back,
Mm.
though. It's really gruesome, right?
I know. Okay, so a local person, made a film some years back, and she has a very similar poster. I now get the reference to that. It took me a while.
Oh, you
Uh,
remember the name of the film, actually?
yeah. Well, I don't want to say the person's name to expose them, but I'll probably say it off camera after the show.
All
But
right.
yeah, black skin Caribbean. It is Caribbean. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I know what to talk about. I know what to talk
Right.
about. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, you're right. You're right.
Hmm.
Right. It's an allusion to that. Right.
Yep.
Yes, you're
Pretty much.
correct.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, I know her. Shout out to her.
Yep.
We still talk to each other, right? That's all I'll say, right? So
Right.
moving forward, right? Right. So, where this film pretty much starts off is that we're introduced to the settlement. So it's by this cotton plantation, pretty much. We're
Yeah.
introduced to the character of Peter, who's played by Will Smith. He's shown with his family, and then, well, one day he's pretty much like forced out of his home and taken into the settlement where they're like laying down like train tracks, right? And from the moment he gets there, it's literally like a prison. Like it's just brutality. It's run by just these flat out sadistic motherfuckers. Way, one of them actually is this slave hunter, this man hunter as they call him, by the name of Fassler, right? Who is played by Ben Foster, right?
Right.
Who
Well,
plays?
I'm not surprised, but I didn't know.
I know,
But
boy. Like
you
when,
just stop shop as white bad guy.
yeah, boy. Like when
Yeah.
it just come to scummy
But he's very
white.
good at it. He is very good at it.
He is. And while he's there, he overhears actually that Abraham Lincoln has started freeing slaves, right? But as you would expect around this time, what I mean, some plantations would not have may not have heard of this news. Other plantations would just be like, all right, well, I have a job to do, and I have these slaves, and we're sadistic motherfuckers, so we don't care, so we're just gonna torture these individuals until the job is done, right? So he, Peter pretty much finds himself in, a settlement with that mentality, right? So of
Yeah.
course, Peter being Peter, he reluctantly finds a way to free himself. He actually fights his way to freedom, right? So he actually escapes with a few other slaves, and of course, Fassel and a few other guys give chase, right? On horseback, right? And from there, yeah, it's just pretty much Peter. We see him going through the swamps. He has to deal with the elements there. At the same time, he has to watch his back because he's continually on the run, right? And yeah, we just essentially see his journey from from leaving that terrible, torturous prison of a settlement, of a settlement, if you will, right? Into where the civil war is taking place, and where he actually finds himself as a soldier, actually as a Union soldier, I should say, in that fight, and where of course he has that picture taken, of course, that picture which more or less herald the Emancipation Proclamation, right? And I'll stop there. So before I get to my thoughts, boy, Ricardo, your honest opinion on Emancipation?
Yeah, I liked it a lot more than I expected to. I went in very cynical, mostly expecting it to be Will Smith to be the weak link, and it's gonna be super distracting, and he's not gonna really be that great of an actor.
Mm-hmm.
And
Same here.
I get a little bit of that, but not as much. And it had a couple things that I felt was a little distracting. So the coloring approach, like I thought the entire film, I only watched the trailer once, so I didn't notice it. But the film has color in it, so it's not entirely black and white. It's this kind of super desaturated approach.
Yes.
And that was a little distracting, right?
Yeah, I'll share my thoughts on that too. But yes, that is really, really noticeable in the film. Yeah.
Right. Because I watching it, I thinking, am I suffering from an optical illusion or something like that? Sometimes
I thought that something was off with my screenshot. So
yeah,
like,
exactly.
I was like watching close, like, oh no, that's a stylistic choice. Oh, okay. Right.
But the way they did it was kind of clumsy. So to me, this felt like kind of Fuqua and, well, to the extension, Will Smith's their Schindler's List. Like it felt like that now.
Yes,
like,
yes. But while Schindler's List, there was a purpose to that use of color, right. Iconic scene. Here is just style, just for the sake of style.
I felt they could at least just apply, like if they applied a couple things, it could have worked. Like if it was just the flags or
like blood, for example. But no, they literally apply it to every sequence.
Yeah,
and they switch it up too, which I'll talk about. They switch it up too, which catch me by surprise.
Yeah,
too,
exactly.
But,
so they had it like some things looking thing, and then like the nighttime shots on the moon in color still, and like what's going on? And then fire in color, but not really. And I don't know. I don't like to say the word lazy, but it wasn't the best approach. Whatever. And the other thing, so the Will Smith being the weak link. Yes, I think he is the weak link in this. Not too much of a weak link. And you know what this reminds me of? And you could just bear with me with this statement. This reminds me of Bazudi. Right? Let me explain.
Please do.
Right. Bazudi. So the joke I used to make about Bazudi is that the problem with the Marshall Montano movie is the Marshall Montano part, right?
All right. I see we get that. Mm-hmm.
Right. And the problem is that because Marshall Montano is so popular, he had to be the star, but I think wasn't particularly good as the star. And I remember in the movie, I remember when Rambungshan came into the movie, and I was like, holy shit, Rambungshan actually have like real screen presence and charisma compared to Marshall. And he, to me, in the little he had, he was totally on Shine Marshall. I was like, why, Rambungshan should have been the star. So when the movie reached its last final act, someone comes in, I was like, holy shit, he should have been the star of this, and Will Smith should have played that role. If they did switch it to W, I'm sure this would have been a much better movie. Mustafa Shakir.
Yes. I was surprised to see him in this movie.
I thought he was great in this. Like,
yes.
Mm-hmm. And I was like, wow, Mustafa Shakir should have been the star, but you see, he's not Will Smith, and that's not to sell the movie. That's how I feel about this. And I felt if Will Smith had that role and Mustafa Shakir had his role, if they did switch roles, I'm sure this would be a better movie. Pretty sure. But we didn't get that. And I didn't hate it. It was better than I thought, but it was still underwhelming. The story, not all that great. I still underwhelmed with the conceit of it. Ben Foster is pretty good. There's this speech with Ben Foster in the middle involving a campfire, which, yeah, that's kind of generally the mindset for a lot of white people, especially at the time. And I'll probably argue now, right? Maybe, right? It was they did the brutality pretty good. They made you scared. They have this one part that totally felt like a kind of Citizen Kane moment with this young girl yelling at them, and that's like a total Citizen Kane. They just like the Hey Jews girl from
Oh, yes.
that is one part. It's like it's stuff like that, and it's good, right? It's good, but again, because it's Will Smith and because of the slap thing. Well, the slap he was making the movie before the slap thing, but still, the slap thing was like that cloudy movie, and it really feel like Will Smith overcompensating. And he had a look at the blackest movie gonna make ever, and I was just underwhelmed with the whole thing. Like again, here's the problem: 12 Years a Slave came out. You're gonna be comparing it to 12 Years a Slave. You're gonna feel like 12 Years a Slave,
Of
and
course. Mm-hmm.
this doesn't even come close to 12 Years a Slave. And that's the problem with something like this. It okay, but it just because it falls flat. And I only rate it because of the production value. It looks good, except for the weird color, stylistic choice they decided to go with. I felt that was a mistake. But for the most part, I liked it for what it was and what it was trying to go for. I think, all right, well, I kind of know the story behind Whipped Peter, kind of, and so on and so forth. And that's about it. It came and went. It fell flat for me. It has a lot of okay moments. They do the brutality well, but Will Smith, if he wasn't the star and he's still distracting me from being Will Smith, I can't buy he struggle. You know, they really trying at something. He really try, but it still fall flat because it's like I'm watching Will Smith on screen. That's the main problem. And I just felt, listen, this is counterfactual thinking. You know, I'm some bullshitter critic who get to talk after the fact, right? But I really felt that they should have switch out Mustafa and Will. Like if they had the switchy rules, and we didn't know Will was in this, but he produced the movie, you know. But let's say that was like a nice little cameo at the end. It's like, oh shit, Will Smith playing a side character role. That'd be alright. Yeah, that would have been interesting, but I don't know. He was a weak link in this. Like he's supposed to hold the movie, and I didn't really feel he held the movie as well as he could have. It's not bad. It is a decent adventure and it's a good story, but it wasn't as harrowing as I thought it would have been. I watched it, I liked it, but I was underwhelmed with it. Like I don't know, this could have been so much better if in a different hands. I don't know if it's in the Fuqua. Look, I came for the Fuqua and stayed for the Fuqua, but yeah, the decisions wasn't all that great, and I find the execution wasn't as strong as it could have been. But it was okay. Like, you know, it doing the whole narrative of Juneteenth and, you know, how people didn't find out, and, you know, plenty of people tried to clamp them down, and how much slaves they kill in the intervening period because they wanted to just keep that dog. And yeah, Ben Foster was a pretty good villain. And I forget who played the guy who was the master.
John Lyons. Right.
Right, yeah, I forget who played John.
Timothy Hutton.
Right. And he was good, and you know they make it work. But look, it's a movie that if this movie to come out 10 years ago, 15 years ago, maybe it could have thing. But I don't know. No, it just feels too little, too late involving Will Smith. Will Smith is a person who Will Smith to me is like Michael Jordan. He's a person who you always saw him as the apolitical black guy, and he was very deliberate in his apoliticalness. But now all of a sudden he's trying to come back with some kind of thing. And I was like, yeah, well, you're kind of too little, too late for this now. In that sense, right? He was all over the place in the 90s, and then I don't know, he trying to whatever, you know,
trying to be relevant.
Yeah, you know, my beef with Will Smith. I've a bunch of, you know, you're constantly talking about the goddamn family and how much Jada seemed to be done bad for Tupac or whatever it is. That's such a drama around the thing. And then the slap thing was like the kill to that. So like I was like, all right, well, Will Smith not necessarily cancel or done or anything like that, but like he's somebody who people should just get totally fed up of, and he should like just stay behind the scenes and just stay behind the scenes with stuff. Like that's how I always felt about Will Smith. But he still had to be in front of the camera, and he still had to show you, you know, he had to prove to people that he's thing. And look, and then like him in King Richard, you know, but you know, whatever. He campaigned, he gave Oscar, and like, all right, time to shut the fuck up now, right? Good. But he really want to like try to prove that he's this great actor, and he's like, he's fine, you know, he's fine. But I don't know, this could have been so much better. And I really felt, if Mustafa was the star, if Mustafa played with Peter, it would work a lot better. I mean, I suppose you could argue that the body type wouldn't have fit because the whole point he had to fit the picture now. So Will Smith physique might more fit the picture. I don't know, maybe. That's about it. Rating. I'll give it a 6, like 6.5, closer to a 7. That's how I feel about it. That's right. Initial, yes, I know. I don't love it, but yeah, go ahead now, Matthew.
All right, so I'm gonna save Big Willie for last, right? Let me talk about the style of film, right? What the film is, right? You know, touching on slavery, right? Yep. I'm glad that you mentioned 12 Years a Slave, right? Because while I was watching this, yes, I was going back to 12 Years a Slave, right? Which, yes, one of the best movies of the 2010s, but A movie that I only saw once, even
Okay.
though it won Best Picture of the year. I just told myself, all right, but I don't want to see it again, right? Because it hit me in the right way, but I don't need to see it again. It lingers on in my brain, right? For better or for worse, right? But yeah, one issue that I have with the film though is the tone of it, right? Because all right, yes, you want to show me the horrors and the brutalities of American slavery, yes, and you show me that, you really show me this. Well, even though I thought it was going to go a little further, like Schindler's List type bad, but no, they didn't touch it, right? But again, it's Antoine Fuqua, and you know him, he's usually associated with action films, right?
Yeah.
So, the moment when Peter, escapes and whatnot, right? I was getting like, the defiant ones, you know what I mean? Especially with the whole swamp stuff. Like that whole swamp stuff is the defiant ones. Just without a white man, i.e. Tony Curtis, that was just this black man just traversing through the swamp and, trying to survive and all that kind of stuff, right? So while I was watching this too, I was also thinking again on the subject matter as well, right? And as I said, like if this came out 10 years ago, you probably would have liked it, right? But yeah, that is one of the problems with this movie here, right? It's not like it feels irrelevant, right? But it's just we've seen this stuff before, right? Whether it's 12 Years a Slave, right? But here's the big example I'll bring up too. Django Unchained from 2012, right?
Right.
Here was Tarantino saying, yes, you've seen slavery before. You've seen slavery represented on film before, right? But I'm gonna do something different, a little bit provocative here. I'm gonna make a Western. Not the first time it's happened, but I'm gonna make a stylized Western out of it, right? But here's what he did very well though. He tapped into blaxploitation. So that's why, Jimmy Fox, who played Jago, had that swagger, had that dialogue with his character, right? And yes, while the show did show you the horrors and the realities of American slavery, it wasn't really about that. It was really it was about this slave who really had to push himself to get out of that, right? And save his wife, right? And the premise of whatnot, right? But yeah, that was a film that actually took something that we've seen millions of times before on screen and did something different with it, right? It didn't dilute the situation of slavery, but at least it said, yes, it exists in this world. Yes, people die and whatnot, and it's horrible. But here's a character now who somehow gets a chance to escape that now. And yeah, in true blaxploitation style, he's going back against the slave masters who caused him all this pain. Yeah. So all of them literally get wiped out because of him, right? And to extend Christopher Ward's character, right? But whatever, right? So with this, yes, this is an action film as well too. It's kind of doing First Blood as well too. Also got a little First Blood vibe on it as well, especially with Will Smith and him climbing up the tree and
traps. It has so many parts with snakes and
snakes and all that kind of stuff. Real Rambo. Real Rambo shit in this, right? I mean,
that part where he was eating, it was like an egg. What the hell he was eating in the boat?
What
the hell was that?
I can't remember what it was. I literally saw it yesterday. I can't even make it out, right? But yeah, it just can't decide what tone it wants to be, right? So it starts off like, all right, we see in 12 Years a Slave, right? Then we get to the Defiant Ones. Then we get to First Blood. I'm sorry I'm bringing up these titles, right? But yeah, those are the films that just came to mind while I was watching this. It just kind of loses focus, right? Because no, I wasn't expecting this to just be primarily about the horrors of slavery. But it's also not entirely about, escape and, survival, which, yes, makes up the entirety of the second act, right? But then I was surprised now when he actually winds up in the Union base now, the Union Army base now. And then, I hate to say this, but the third act of this film just reminded me of a little film called Glory.
Right, listen,
the movie,
that's why the movie fall flat because there's so many other films that do this better than this. It's a hodgepodge of a ton of shit. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. But in my head, I just was thinking 12 Years a Slave and Schindler's List. That's it too.
Right. Mm-hmm.
In my head, I was like, yeah, but it had a bunch of other shit that was boring from this. Yeah. But like again, whatever, do your thing now. Like I'm not really judging it on that thing. My thing is if you execute it well, and it's not. It's just pretty standard.
That's the problem, yeah. Like I'm sorry, right? Even though it's based on a true story, it's just imagery and attitudes and mannerisms that I've seen before.
Yeah.
Of course, the white slavers are heartless bastards, and they use the N word a lot, and they whip and they beat the black people up out and do all kind of stuff. Yeah, and that just makes up almost the entirety of the first act now. And then the second act is yes, guy on the run and he's in the swamps and he has to use his wits to survive. Yes, we know, we've seen this numerous times, but yeah, the Union Army stuff catch me by surprise. Like, yes, there was hints at it from early on, but I didn't think that they were going to go there. Right now, my argument is that that should not have just taken up the third act. That actually should have. I would say that should have been the second half for the film, right? Because I would say the Union Army stuff, unfortunately, is the most interesting aspect of the movie, right? Not just because of the photo, right? Which of course is what we remember, what makes Peter such an iconic figure in terms of the abolishment, of slavery, right? But it was just again, these freed slaves who are involved in this war. Yes, it's a white man's war, so to speak. But here they are doing what they have to do, and it's all about freedom and survival, right?
Yeah.
But again, I've seen this before. I've seen it in a movie called Glory.
What's frustrating about it? Why a lot of it don't work is that when it's time for Will Smith to have like serious moments, like it had this one part he was questioning Mustafa, is like, you're free, but if somebody allows you to do it, you're not really free, right? And like they just shoot like a straight conversation, like that's supposed to be some profound thing. Like,
I'll talk about the script in a bit, right? But
go ahead, yeah.
And last thing on Glory, boy, and even the final battle, why I was just thinking about the final battle in Glory, especially the music in that sequence. Well, I would say if you don't know about that scene, YouTube it, please. That piece of music, by the way, is still one of the greatest musical compositions I've ever heard in my life. Every time I hear it, I get chills. Like, I just go through these various emotions when I hear this song, right? It's just such a powerful song. And that moment is so transcendent, in my opinion, right? And this version, well, not this version, but how we see it here, boy, pales in comparison, boy. And this leads now to the cinematography, right? Or I should say, the color grading in this film, right? So they actually get a big DP for this, Robert Richardson, who worked on Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Nice.
Big name, right? OG, right? The man do it, right? And I would say, yes, from a visual standpoint, yes, the movie looked great. It looked great, right? The choices of color grading though is what threw me off though. Because initially I thought it was going to be like, it starts off black and white, right? But then I watch it and they have this kind of slight sepia, like a light sepia tone to
right.
it.
Yeah.
So I thought, okay, it's gonna be light sepia. All right, okay. It adds to the grimness of the story. Okay, so you don't want to be like Schindler's List where it's black and white with the exception of the red dress. Okay, fine. But then you will notice, wait now, but the fire have a specific color to it. The blood, you seen it red, stuff like that. They're like, all right, okay, style, all right. But then they get to like night scenes, for example, or like dawn scenes, right? Sorry, dusk scenes, right? And they will use blue dread. They're like, all right, what? You know what I mean? And this keeps going back and forth.
Yeah, weird.
I'm wondering if it's because of, again, you want to set a mood, right? Okay, fine, you set a mood, right? But stick to a mood, stick to a tone. It's similar to, the style of the film itself, right? Is it just a pure slavery drama, or is it a action film? Is that survival film, right? This is a man on the run kind of film, right? It just can't make up its mind, right? And same thing with the color grade, like why does it just keep jumping from? And what we mean, like, we don't see the changes color throughout the film, right? But it will go back to the light sepia. It will go back to the black and white stuff. It will just keep doing that. And they're like, why? There's no point in it, right? Yes, Ben Foster is exactly what you'd expect from him, right? He's a heartless bastard. He get a decent monologue, I would say, right? And quite effective, right? It's not like Joel Edgerson's moments in the Underground Railroad, right?
Yeah.
Where
that's another thing I should compare it to.
Right, even a guy like him got complexity with his character. He wasn't just some heartless white man, right? But because this film, right, and unfortunately I have to blame this on the script, it's just so surface level, right? Like I'm not expecting that you have to flesh out all the slave owners, right? I'm not expecting that, right? But yes, everybody, every white person in this film, Dread, and I'm not defending the white actors or whatnot, right? Or the white characters in this film. I'm just saying they are just surface level, basic, generic, heartless, cold bastards. That's what they are, right? And you would think that, okay, if they just being one-dimensional bastards, at least the black people themselves, at least the black characters on screen, at least they would get some complexity, right? And this is where we get to the elephant in the room now. Big Willie himself.
Yep.
Thankfully, he is not the stoic, one-dimensional character. Sorry, like one mood character that we got in shit like, say, After Earth, for example, right? Where he was just laughably stoic. He was just, I am being stoic because this is my character and this is what M. Night Shyamalan told me to be. So I am going to talk like this and I'm going to talk to my son like this. He's not doing that, right? At least he gets moments to, to express emotion, right? What unfortunately is just mostly pain and, when he's like when he's in pain and basically, right? And, in the end, whatnot, where, he cries and whatnot, right? But okay, right? But yeah, other than that, though, as far as a character, you know little to nothing about him. You just know that he is Haitian born and he has a family and he really feels like he needs to get to where the war is taking place, right? And he keeps saying Lincoln, he needs to go there because he wants to, it's not like he's expecting to meet Lincoln, of course, right? But, he knows that's where he's going to find freedom, right? But yeah, he is, I would say, two-dimensional, actually. He's not one-dimensional, he's actually two-dimensional, right? But it's still not enough, Jim. He could have just been a more fleshed out character, but no, he's just this badass who just knows his way through the elements and, through the wilderness and all that kind of stuff, right? And yeah, it's to the point that you just know that he's going to survive, right? And that's the unfortunate thing because the casting, it's Will Smith, right? Of course he's going to survive, right? So yeah, there's no real stakes involved outside of, I need to get back to my family, right? Now I understand, right? He need to get to point E for freedom, right? But like I thought, what would have make it even greater is if it was, right, I need to get back to my family, right? But no, it's I need to get to Lincoln, right? I need to get there, right? But I guess, if it's based on truth, okay, circumstances arise and yeah, he finally linked back up with his family, right? Not a surprise, right? Again, it's Will Smith, so you're not gonna die in your own film, right? This isn't I Am Legend. That's actually another film I was thinking about too, with him being on his own and having to survive and all that kind of stuff, right? What I thought he was gonna bring up too with your critique on Will's performance now is the full French accent the man adopt by.
Again.
Sometimes
I don't think this was a
sometimes it don't work.
I don't think this.
But it's not concussion. It's not concussion level,
but
but
no.
But oftentimes we gotta take you out. Yeah, it's tolerable, right? It's tolerable. Right. Sorry, but oftentimes like I understand is the character, but I don't know. You gotta put that little effort.
Thing fine. Like, look, I don't think anybody else would have been like any other American actor probably wouldn't have been that good. Like, look, Mustafa himself was playing this kind of Jamaican something back in Luke Cage, right?
Right, Luke Cage season 2, right.
Right. So it's like whatever. Like stuff like that, those super bottom, eh? Like you got to expect like what you go and get an actual Jamaican. Actual Haitian.
Haitian? No. Right, like even the actress who plays his wife actually well, it's the first time I believe her name if I'm not mistaken, Charmaine Bingwa, right?
Okay.
Her accent was actually way more convincing to me.
Right. Yeah.
In terms of the French inflections there, but here it's just like I must find Lincoln. Right?
I don't know.
And I still hear the Willie voice. Especially near the end. Like, all right, slight spoiler. There's a moment where he's calling his wife as like a head Will. Because the wife's name in the film is Dodline, right? I think it's Dodline, right? And the head, Dodline or something like that, Dodline or something like that, right? And I just hear the Willie voice. I hear the Willie voice. Like, he doesn't completely drop the accent, but I still hear the voice though. There's actually a moment prior to that where he gives the big speech, right? Where he has to talk about why he's so adamant about survival and why he must continue on, right? It's so funny, right? Because people will look at it as, oh, this is the Oscar speech, right? This is the clip that he will use when they say best actor, right? They're gonna show that clip, right? But because the shit that he do with this year with Chris Rock, Yeah, of course, this movie like he did that all, but yeah, you can tell this is the Oscar moment, though. But even in that Oscar moment, I was hearing the Willie voice, where I couldn't help
Right.
but be reminded of like what happened with King Richard. Like even though he's trying to do this other the inflections and whatnot, I
Right.
still hear the Willie voice way. But yeah, you were saying
Yeah. Again, I don't know what to call it. The bigotry of low expectations are for Will Smith. Like I didn't expect better. So my thing was like, whatever. Like it good enough. It really feel like good enough because like, look, seriously, he should have just produced this and let's get a better actor, please. Like, look,
yeah, yeah.
you get Oscar already. Chill out. But whatever. They start making it long before. So like whatever. But
Yeah,
still,
but
yeah,
I'll wrap up here, right? But yeah, just to close off with that, boy, I do agree with you. They really could have gotten somebody else to
yeah,
at least show off their acting chops here, man. Like I agree, Mustafa Shakir, right? He's been doing some TV stuff. Okay, cool. He get a chance to play this Union Army captain. I think it is.
yeah,
He is right. Andre Kalu, I think that's his name, right? Kalus, right? Um, yeah, like imagine if he had to play if the rules were reversed now, right?
yeah,
And yeah, he had to be the worn down slave who has to
yeah,
push himself to the limit now to not just to survive but to reunite with his family. Yeah, that would have been great. You'd actually give this yeah, I would say rising actor, this
yeah,
rising star, sorry, the
yeah.
opportunity to shine. But no, it's Will, and
That we
because
will.
Will
Yeah.
has played these kind of half quiet, half stoic roles before, it's nothing really spectacular. He just kind
Yeah.
of does it, and it's not like he half-asses it really, but it's just like I've
And
seen it done before. I've
yeah,
seen it done better
again,
by
yeah,
him.
here's
I've seen it
another
done
thing.
worse by him actually too,
No, here's
right? But
another
yeah,
thing
it's
that
just
really
like,
make.
well, I don't know.
There's my last point. Here's my another thing that make it a little more galling. So we had another black and white movie involving a black actor last year that was, in my opinion, absolutely brilliant. And that movie should have got much more nominations, which was Macbeth.
Yes, the tragedy of Macbeth. Yes,
And
love
that
that movie. Yeah.
that was just, I mean, to see it on Apple TV was kind of the galling aspect of this. That's what you said, like, wait, boy, Apple TV really like you really like cater to this bullshit, boy? Like, why, Jared? And that's why that was my problem. Like, I just look, I went in with this expecting something super much worse, but it's like an Apple TV just thinking, nah, but they could have do this so much better, Jared. It's just a squandered opportunity. Whatever. Anyway,
Yeah,
last
yeah.
point,
But right,
six
right.
point five out of 10. So whatever. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So, but and as I bring up Apple TV, I'll close to this, right? Um, I could be wrong with this, right? Maybe it's just because I watch it on my laptop. Maybe because the Apple TV. Well, yes, I know it had a theatrical release, of course, right? But
Right.
I don't know why. Something about this. I don't want to use the word cheap, but it just feels kind of made for streaming. It kind of
A little
like
bit,
this.
yeah.
When I look at like when I just look at the entire product, it just feels like yeah, this is just made for streaming, Dre. This
Yeah.
wouldn't really make it as a this wouldn't really work as a theatrical release, Dre, because yeah, people were going expecting more, and you just kind of watch. It's like yeah, it's fine, man, but I don't know. Just giving the people on board expect something way better in my way better out of this too. But here it was just standard by the numbers, surface level story touching on slavery, doesn't do anything different, doesn't do anything new or provocative. I think that you had a choice. You could either go the full slavery route or try sort of a black exploitation route, where it's like the slave finally getting back at the man, right? At least
Yeah.
that's what Tarantino did with Django Unchained, right? But here just can't help but reminded of films that also touch on that. That's why I brought up, what is way 12 Years a Slave and Glory, right? And even films that touch on racism, right? Like stuff like oh gosh, what is way the Defiant Ones, right? And
Right,
of
right.
course the whole survival aspect, right? I mean, last movie I'll bring up too, the Revenant.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah,
Yeah, a little bit,
survival,
a little
like
bit. Yeah, okay.
the survival aspect of it is very Revenant-like, right?
Yeah,
But even the Revenant did like different stuff. There, I mean, it did
yeah,
something spectacular, right? Yeah, where the entirety of the film was done with natural light, right?
yeah.
Yeah, that was something new, not no weird color grading for the sake of being
Yeah,
stylized.
I just hate
Yeah,
that color grading because I look like some bullshit you could do in VLC. That's what
exactly.
I
Yes,
that's what I feel.
especially with the blood way. Like when I
Yeah.
saw that, I was like, yeah,
It looked like when you turn down your saturation and thing on the VLC.
yeah.
I don't talk about any edited program, VLC.
VLC, yeah.
Yeah.
VLC media player, folks.
Yeah, player. You could do
Free, yeah.
that. Yeah. That's
Free.
how it feel. And it really didn't feel special. And I was thinking, wait, this is an aesthetic choice, but like whatever. I don't like to say the word lazy, but that's what it felt like, whatever. Because like just to see how the fire color and thinking like, what the fuck is this? And whatever.
Yeah, and then the worst part of though is that when you get to big moments like that climatic battle scene, yeah, it just fall flat, right? Because the choice of color grading no work. And again, I just going back to much better films that did this. So yeah, talking enough about this, boy. Rita, why is I gonna give this decent to strong 2.5 out of 5, man. See it if you want to. It's not the worst thing out there. It's not like it would make them a worst stuff list. It's not like, but it is far from the return, the redemption story for both Antoine Fuqua and Will Smith, right? Like I said, with my critique of the Academy Awards, Will should just stick to just doing smaller films, like forget the Oscars. I don't even think personally this movie was meant to be like Oscar worthy or like worthy of being brought up in the Oscar discussion. I don't think so. But just given the talent on screen, though, you could kind of tell that it kind of was, but it just kind of feel kind of half-hearted. Ultimately, with all things considered, man, you know what I mean? Like they really could have put much more effort into not just the look of the film, but the story and the tone and the acting as well too. It just, again, unfortunately, just feels like a made for streaming film. That's what we get here, unfortunately, right? So it is what it is, right? And I'll close with this, and then you could close things off, right? I don't see this as the death knell of of Will's career.
Right. No, yeah.
But I do agree with you, man. I mean, you have a production studio. You have Westbrook, do some production, and give some up and comers.
He kind of fallen into Tyler Perry territory, where you have all this all this money and capital, and you're just not utilizing real talent. You could really pull up some talent. And it's not you're not doing nothing, because the Fresh Prince remake is not half bad,
Yeah, I enjoy it for the most part. Not great, but I enjoy it too, and I can't wait for season 2. By the way,
but he still that's the problem. It's still had he face in front of the world now, that kind of thing. Like, dude, you can start to chill out, You don't want to be in front of the camera. Just go behind the scenes, chill yourself out. Lay a chair and start to shine now. You don't need to be in front of the camera, because here's the problem. In the end of the day, he will never make the big sacrifices as an actor to change his body to look different. Leo did that. He didn't feel like he did that in this, right? At no point I was looking at him.
Well, even with the picture, see, for example, it just looked like he lost the COVID fat. Like I actually make the joke when I saw that shot, like he lost the bare guts that he had, because of COVID, because because he had this YouTube series about losing the fat and whatnot.
Yeah, I know that.
It just felt like he just lose some weight after. No, especially after King Richard, because he put on for that, right?
Right.
Yeah, he just lose some weight, and let me just jump into this movie. Boom.
And you're right,
that's
exactly.
How he looked.
So it looks. I'm not expecting him to go full Christian Bale and mash up his body or something like that. But God, he's never come across like he make an effort to any of that shit. That's my problem. So that's the worst was the movie with the football fella, right? That was the worst.
Concussion.
Concussion. It looked nothing like the man. But this still, whatever. Whatever. Yeah. I mean, again, I appeal to counterfactuals. Move on. Yeah, for me, 6.5 out of 10, maybe a 6, closer to a 6 than a 7. But yeah, I was just underwhelmed. To be honest.
Yeah, and lastly, give Mustafa Shakir some big roles, man. This could have been his breakthrough, feature-length performance, man. But no, it has to be about Will. Yeah. And I would admit nobody would have watched this movie if it wasn't Will on the poster anyway. But I mean, by now, and especially with what happened this year too with the slap too, give it to somebody else, man. I do agree with you, man. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, whatever. Moving on. Moving
forward, we will pretty much emancipate ourselves from this movie here. We probably would have gonna think about it the next couple of days. But yeah, again, if you're curious, watch it. But other than that, there's much better movies about slavery out there. You might as well seek those out instead of this, right? So yeah, moving on.
Yeah.